Hello dear students, today is our day 17 video 10 for class 10th. So here we are discussing NCERT based chapter Our Environment of class 10th. In previous video we studied about ecosystem, their components and types. Now there will be a brief introduction of components of ecosystem. Ecosystem is that functional place in the biosphere where living organisms interact with each other as well as with the physical factors like temperature, humidity, soil, water and air, etc. So here we are having the components of ecosystem. There are basically two components of ecosystem. One is the biotic and the other is abiotic components. Biotic components are those which includes living organisms, and abiotic component includes the physical factors, the non-living factors. So these physical factors generally include sunlight, temperature, air, water, soil, which are these are the such physical factors on which the plants or the other biotic organisms are dependent. So biotic organisms include all the living organisms, and these living organisms, on the basis of their feeding habit, they are categorized into three types: producers, consumers and decomposers. Producers, generally all producers are mostly the green plants which are having chlorophyll. Few bacteria are also there which act as producer. For example, blue-green algae. This particular organism, or we can call it as cyanobacteria, which contains certain photopigments are present which helps them to photosynthesize their food molecules. So producers is that category which have the ability to utilize sun's energy by they are utilizing the sun energy and convert inorganic raw material into organic one, so that they can provide their energy to the next organisms which are going to eat such plants. Next are the consumers. Consumers category is that category in which organisms are either directly dependent on producers or indirectly dependent on producers. Fine. These consumers are then later classified into three groups: primary consumers, secondary consumers and tertiary consumers. Primary consumers are those which are directly dependent on plants. For example, herbivores. Herbivores are plant eating animals. They are directly dependent on plants. Next is the secondary consumers. Secondary consumers which are indirectly dependent on plants. These secondary consumers will consume primary consumers for their living. After that, we are having tertiary consumers. Tertiary consumers are those which are dependent on secondary consumers. Secondary and tertiary consumers both are carnivorous in nature. Fine. The tertiary carnivores, generally these are the top carnivores which are not eaten by further any animal like lion or humans. We are the top consumers. After that, we are having decomposers. So decomposers are those which dead which are going to convert the organic matter into the simple inorganic components, again by utilizing oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. Decomposers are generally the microorganisms which are converting organic matter into inorganic one, and again they are providing all the nutrients to the soil. They will increase the soil fertility and hence the plant maximize their growth by absorbing those nutrients. तो डिकम्पोजर्स की कैटेगरी में जनरली आते हैं बैक्टीरिया, फंगस, और वी कैन आल्सो इंक्लूड स्कैवेंजर्स. स्कैवेंजर्स आर सच काइंड ऑफ organisms which are degrading organic matter inside their body, and all the microorganisms, they are degrading organic matter outside their body. Fine. So we are having biotic individuals. They are categorized into three groups: producers, consumers and decomposers. Producers, which are converting sun's energy into chemical energy by utilizing or converting inorganic matter into organic one. Consumers, which are directly or indirectly dependent on producers for their food, जिसमें हमने categorize किया three groups में: primary consumers, which are directly dependent on plants like herbivores; secondary consumers, which are dependent on primary consumers but dependent on plant indirectly, because indirectly कैसे प्रोड्यूसर से एनर्जी गेन करें हर्बीवोर्स, और हर्बीवोर्स को कंज्यूम करके सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर्स को एनर्जी मिलेगी. सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर्स में आपके जैसे कैट हो गया, डॉग हो गया, ये छोटे एनिमल्स को कंज्यूम कर लेते हैं और उनके मरने के बाद तो नहीं, उनको कंज्यूम कर सकते हैं। स्मॉल इंसेक्ट्स हो सकते हैं प्रोड्यूसर्स जिनको कंज्यूम करेंगे। प्रोड्यूसर्स को प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर्स कंज्यूम करेगा, सेकेंडरी कंज्यूमर प्राइमरी को कंज्यूम करेगा, एंड द टर्शियरी कंज्यूमर्स आर जनरली द टॉप कार्निवोर्स which eat other carnivores but cannot be eaten by any other animal. Next are the decomposers. Decomposers ऐसे organisms हैं which can convert organic matter into inorganic ones. They are decomposing that organic matter. Decomposition के लिए जो organisms use होते हैं those are bacteria and fungi. और कुछ scavengers भी होते हैं. Scavengers क्या होते हैं? जो आपके birds होती हैं, जैसे hawk है, eagle है. Sorry. So this is about components of ecosystem, biotic and abiotic. How these biotic and abiotic components are exchanging energy. They are exchanging energy through a mechanism which we call as food chain. Food chain is the sequence of organisms. Here I have written 3 food chains, different food chains. The food chain is a sequence of organisms which are dependent on each other for their food. In this manner, they are exchanging their matter as well as food energy with each other. So, every step of food chain is known as trophic level. These trophic levels, जिसमें हम पहले लेवल पे हमेशा हमारे पास मिलेंगे plants, then we will be having our primary consumer, then secondary consumer, then tertiary consumer. Then question arises, decomposers कौन से प्लेस पर आएंगे? डिकम्पोजर्स किसी भी प्लेस पर आ सकते हैं, बट आफ्टर द प्रोड्यूसर्स. डिकम्पोजर्स का काम क्या है? ऑर्गेनिक मैटर को इनऑर्गेनिक में कन्वर्ट करना. तो डिकम्पोजर्स किसी भी ट्रॉफिक लेवल पे आ सकते हैं, बट आफ्टर द प्रोड्यूसर्स, क्योंकि सबसे पहले उन्हें ऐसा ऑर्गेनिज्म तो मिलना चाहिए कंज्यूम करने के लिए जो ऑर्गेनिक मैटर बना रहा होगा. दैट्स वाई डिकम्पोजर्स किसी भी ट्रॉफिक लेवल पर आ सकते हैं. आफ्टर प्रोड्यूसर, प्रोड्यूसर के बाद भी आ सकते हैं, प्राइमरी कंज्यूमर के बाद भी, सेकेंडरी के बाद भी, टर्शियरी के बाद भी. ठीक है. तो decomposers are such kind of organisms which can occupy any trophic level just after the producers. Fine. So food chain is the sequence of interlinking of organisms which are dependent on each other for the transfer of matter and energy. Mostly food chain shows the unidirectional flow of energy in a straight line. Trophic levels, these are the steps of food chain. First trophic level is always occupied by producers, then by primary consumers, after that secondary consumer, then tertiary consumer. If this tertiary consumer may die, then it will be occupied by decomposers. Fine. So next, after that, we are having the features of food chain. Few features we will discuss today and rest of the features in our next video. So few of the features, for example, in a food chain always involves the unidirectional flow of energy. Once the energy is consumed, once the sun's energy is consumed by plants, it will not revert back to the sun. What happens? Sun is the ultimate source of energy. ठीक है, उसका केवल sun के energy का only 1% of sun energy is always absorbed by plants to make their food through the process called photosynthesis. तो 1% जो प्लांट्स ने कंज्यूम कर लिया एक बार, वो उसको वापस सन के पास नहीं भेज सकते. That's why I'm saying the food chain involves the unidirectional flow of energy. Once the energy is consumed by producers, it will not go back. It will move forward to the next trophic level. So the ultimate source of energy is sun, and sun की जितनी भी radiation earth surface पे आती है, उसमें से only 1% is absorbed by plants, and such radiations are known as photosynthetically active radiations, PAR. Fine. So this much you have learned today. In our next video, I will showcase about the features of food chain. ठीक है, 2 more videos are coming over here. Features of food chain and related to numericals of the food chain. वैसे मैं न्यूमेरिकल्स ऑफ फूड चेन पहले भी बना चुकी हूँ, आप वीडियोस, आप उन्हें भी देख सकते हैं. आफ्टर दैट वी आर हैविंग द ओजोन लेयर. दिस whatever I am teaching now, this is totally NCERT based and board context. जो वीडियोस मैंने पहले प्रिपेयर की हैं इस चैप्टर की, उस वीडियो की हेल्प से आपके क्वेश्चंस बन सकते हैं आपके ओलंपियाड्स में। जितने भी आपके साइंस ओलंपियाड होते हैं, साइंस ओलंपियाड में आप उसके लिए प्रिपेयर कर सकते हैं वहाँ से। और आपके जितने भी कॉम्पिटिटिव एग्जाम्स हैं जहाँ पर अर्थ एनवायरनमेंट से क्वेश्चंस आते हों, उन सभी में आप उसके लिए प्रिपेयर कर सकते हैं उन पर्टिकुलर वीडियोस से। ये जो पर्टिकुलर वीडियोस मैं बना रही हूँ, दीज आर टोटली एनसीईआरटी बेस्ड। थैंक यू।